four-time Miss Olympia Jay Cutler. Welcome to my channel, Jay Cutler TV, and make sure to stay in tune with the newest and updated videos. Subscribe below, guys. Thank you so much for following along.
Hey guys, welcome to another Be Built by Bros live from Gold's Gym, the Mecca. And on this week's show, we're a few days out from the West Coast Classic, where my cameraman here, Dave, is going to be competing. And there he is. And I want to show you guys a couple of back movements that we've been using. We have shown them on the show before, but some of you are new to the show. But I want to show these specifically to you guys because Dave has created a really fabulous look to his back, and in the lower lat area, tons of striations everywhere, and it's something that we did not have years ago. And we built this density and graininess in his lower lat area from the spine all the way out, using a few specific movements, which I want to show you guys today that we use, which I'll describe as he does them. And then of course later on in the show, we'll have some Ask Merlin questions, and so we hope that you enjoy this. Okay, so this first movement that we're going to do is a low cable set on an incline bench. We vary this incline quite often, but we hear it about, I'd say probably almost about a 70-degree angle. And I have the cable set so that he's going to pull at a slightly upward angle. He's going to keep his elbows close to the body so that we're working primarily the lats. And he's keeping the elbows low so that we can work the fibers on the lower portion of the lats. And as you can see what I'm talking about right here is the striations and the density in this area, which you never really had before. This movement is excellent for working those lower lat fibers. And as you can see, it works all the way into the spine and all the way outward, giving them nice full lower hanging lat bellies. And I'll show you here the thickness off the spine. So this is one of the movements that we use quite often. I change the angle of the pulley, I change the angle of the bench, and this is just to hit different sets of motor unit pulls. Obviously you cannot completely isolate one part of the back, but you can target specific areas. Okay, here's the second movement that I wanted to show you that we use for the lower part of the lats to help them get striated, denser, and more hanging at the bottom. To see the cable row, using an underhand grip so the elbows stay close to the body. When the elbows are closer to the body, you're primarily working the lats more so than the middle back. Now as you can see, he's keeping his body very, very upright throughout the entire range of motion. This helps him to get a better contraction of the lats, because if he moved backwards, or if he arched back too much, he'd use the lower back. As you can see, tremendous density and thickness right in this area as he squeezes it back. And this is going to greatly improve not only his back double bicep shot, but even his rear lat spread. Done properly, you don't have to use too much weight in this exercise. You want to focus on the squeeze, and that's how you build that crazy thickness in the low lats.
Hi Biggie, this is Ask Merlin. So we got some good questions this week. But you get a special message before, you said?
Yes. Before I get to the Ask Merlin questions, as we are just a few days out from the NPC West Coast Classic, I want to give a few shout outs. Of course, I want to shout out to Lonnie, Teper, and Chris Menez for their great show that they put on every single year, always putting in tremendous effort to make it better every year. I can't wait to see what they have in store for us this Saturday in Riverside, California. I also want to shout out to my personal clients who are going into the show. That's you, Dave. That is Kim Bridges, Mark Durando, and Daylene. I also want to shout out to Doug Fruchet, who's not my client, but he's one of our brothers here in Gold's Gym.
Woo, it's going to be a packed show, man.
And to Don Hecker, who also did the Lean and Mean Challenge, and he looks amazing, and he's coming in for the show as well. So it's going to be a great show, and everybody, the judging panel, the expediters, everybody involved with that show is first class all the way. So shout out to you guys. Can't wait to see you on Saturday. So as for my questions, the first one, let me just quickly look on my phone here. I was asked if I ever carb front load my athletes for the last week rather than doing the traditional carb up, like lower carbs up to the show higher carbs, and why would I do that? And the answer to that question is yes, I do that quite a bit, and the reasons for this are twofold. First thing is that when we're in a carb depleted state, which pretty much all of us are when we're getting ready for competitions, even if you don't do a traditional depletion, your body is very depleted of carbs because the diet is usually a very low carb diet to begin with, plus also there's the extra cardio, the training, the posing, and the stress, so you are in a carb depleted state. So if you front load carbs, which basically means doing your highest carb day, say maybe on Wednesday or Tuesday before the show rather than doing it on Friday, it makes a lot of sense because your body is going to be most sensitive to storing glycogen. Your insulin sensitivity is going to be the most sensitive at the beginning of a carb up, not the end. So it makes a lot of sense to carb up highest in the beginning of a carb up and then taper off to a show when your insulin sensitivity is the highest. So this works for a lot of people, and it makes sense biologically and physically. Also, I do this with a lot of people because it's a great way to better control not spilling over before a show. So if you load carbs earlier, maybe Wednesday and Thursday, and taper off a bit on Friday, you can control subcutaneous water a lot better this way than if you do a very heavy carb load on Friday. Then you don't know how you're going to wake up on Saturday morning. You may have spilled over, and then you got to deal with that. A lot of people will deal with that with diuretics, then that causes problems because then you lose size and you don't feel as well. You can lose water from the muscle and go flat. So I think in a lot of ways it is better too. But of course you have to still track your athlete during the week and see how their body's responding. If the carb up for some reason, some people take a little bit longer to carb up, and if they're not fully carbed up by Friday, you may still need to do a decent amount of carbs on Friday, but like I said, it is better often to front load the carbs. So that's a really good question, and it works very well for a lot of people. Okay, so the next question comes from Dwayne Harju, and he asked me, he said, I can't really do overhead dumbbell presses or skull crushers for my triceps because it causes elbow pain. What would be the best exercise to replace them with? I find that people who have problems with extension exercises often can do exercises like triceps dips and close grip bench presses without elbow pain, even if they go very, very heavy. There's just something about the extension movement that seems to put a lot of pressure and torque on the elbow that causes the pain. But when you're doing a straight pressing like a dip or a close grip bench press, you can often work very, very heavy and not feel that elbow pain. Of course, there's also a plethora of push-down exercises you can use. You can use a straight bar, a V-bar, you can use a rope, you can do a reverse grip, you can do one arm at a time, and of course there's just various ways to do it. As you've seen on the show, we use an incline bench and use a lot of different angles. So between doing dipping exercises, close grip bench presses, which again could be done free bar, it could be on a Smith machine, it could be done the Merlin way, which is with the elbows out to the sides, again something that's been on the show before, and various types of push downs, you should be able to still grow really, really well with the triceps without extensions. However, let me just say this, a lot of people don't use proper form for extensions. They move the weight too fast. This is something you may want to address. Perhaps if you move the weight slower, maybe you won't have that elbow pain. And also if you use lighter weight, maybe go a little higher reps, maybe use them last in the workout rather than first. The elbows may be warm enough to be able to do it. But again, if you absolutely positively cannot do extensions without pain, I say close grip bench presses, tricep dips, and all different types of press downs should be able to give you the development that you're after.